viewers, you're watching NewsX and I'm Kriti Mehta. Sitting with my colleagues, Uday Pratap Singh, senior editor here, and Siddharth Rege, news editor on our desk that does most of the work when it comes to newsrooms. So today we're going to discuss Quad. Tomorrow is this all-important meeting of Quad, and of course happening at a time when questions are being raised on the relevance of the organization. Siddharth, tomorrow when this meeting happens, also at a time when Marco Rubio has met with Jay Shankar, he's been in India, will be here for a few more days and probably attend that meeting also tomorrow. What is the relevance now of Quad and why are questions being raised?
Yes, since Donald Trump has come to power, we've not seen him take that big of an aggressive action on China when it comes to in terms of collaborating with someone. Yes, there has been a one-on-one sort of a trade fight, but the basis of the Quad was so that China's expansionism, and its influence and its bullying tactics, there's someone who's keeping a watch on it. Yes, it's not a military alliance yet, right? Now, but with Rubio's visit, we've seen this reconnect happen, and tomorrow's meeting, which will obviously be attended by Penny Wong, the Japanese foreign minister will be here as well, Jaishankar will be there. It's got to be setting the base for later this year, where India is expected to host the quadrilateral meeting. Yes, and that is when you will probably see, and this will be, Rubio will be obviously the person who will be making this communication as to whether Donald Trump then makes that visit to India later this year, because it's long time due now, and the reconnect has happened, but the trust it's still not there between the two countries.
Where is Quad when US and China, they are seemingly not rivals anymore, at least not the number one enemy that China used to be of USA. Now they've both met each other in each other's countries. We had Xi Jinping first visiting Washington and then Trump went now. And in fact, he didn't even want to take up the question on Taiwan when he was asked to reporters. So given that the alliance was formed, like Siddharth was saying, to take on expansionism of China, now China has been eliminated as the number one problem, so to say.
Well, no, I would slightly disagree, because the fact is that, see, Donald Trump has come away from China without any sort of deal. There has not been those kind of takeaways or gains that he wanted, that he's managed to get from that China visit. In fact, there was a caution on the issue of Taiwan, and after that, the administration's position on Taiwan has been a bit edgy or circumspect. It's not, while they've said, yes, that is still a priority for us, but yet they have shied away from taking a big position on Taiwan ever since that meeting with Xi and Trump happened. And they got that warning that stay off the issue of Taiwan, otherwise there will be serious consequences. And, the fact is that is a big warning, because China has also seen how Iran has stood up to America through this conflict. So they are saying, if Iran can stand up to you, we can show you, what we are capable of as well militarily. In fact, while there were question marks over the relevance and the continuity of the Quad, with the fact that the US president has not come to India for a meeting of the Quad, and there has been no big meeting of the Quad ever since he has taken charge last year. Marco Rubio has tried to re-emphasize the relevance of the Quad. He said that was the first thing I did on the first day while I was in office. On the first day last year, he said, when he took oath as Secretary of State, that very day, he chaired and attended a meeting of the Quad. So he said, that's what I did on my first day in office, which is why for me it's very important. And I will ensure its relevance continues and its, and its importance is there. He said it very, very specifically.
Trump has been much more aggressive on NATO than he has been on the Quad. Yeah. Yes, you've seen some skepticism, because last year during the summit he did not attend it, because he obviously had other priorities then. But you've not seen him take that position where he's going all out after the NATO. He's just disregarding the Quad. Yes, there is silence, but that always then gives the opportunity to push the pedal back. And in 2017 he was the one who resurrected the Quad as well.
And also the fact is that this comes at a time, this meeting, when America has been struggling with its allies. US. There have been question marks raised by all of the US's European allies. There has been, of course, some question marks in Africa as well, particularly after South Africa and US relations soured. South America as well, we've seen some closeness, some distance. Middle East also, of course, they're all with the US, but the war has affected them a lot. So with these strained ties for the US, suddenly this meeting of the Quad happening, the timing is there for all to see about why US now wants this. Their self-interest is first. They keep saying America first. So they feel now it's in America's first interest in having this. And Rubio said that we are hoping that we can have another Quad meeting in maybe the US later this year. But there's also talks of possible US president coming to India next year. That's what Sergio Gore has also hinted at in the third year of his presidency. So we have to wait and watch.
Okay, before that third meeting happens, firstly, Trump has to see the midterms. So that is going to have a big consequence on his standing. And as far as taking on Quad versus NATO is concerned, I think they can't be compared. Quad is a completely different alliance. Trump's needs from NATO's are completely different when it's on the issue of Greenland or Venezuela or Iran. Trump cannot rely on Quad. He will have to rely on NATO. NATO is a military alliance.
No, but in the long term, China is the bigger problem for him. Yeah, he might say that I need Greenland any day now. That's just Trump. But let's not think that he's not thinking of China as the bigger problem. And you can't counter China with Europe. You can't counter China with anyone else.
The national security doctrine of the USA says now China is not the number one problem. And that's the official doctrine that they have revised. Plus, that's also what we are seeing now. The enemies of USA are no more China. The bigger problem is happening, let's say, the major oil producing nations are where Trump's eyes are on. He wants to conquer them. He, like you said, America
No, but that
first.
doesn't make them their enemies.
Yeah, to counter who?
Yeah.
Why, when Trump talks about American first, American economy first,
Russia-China
yeah, it's obviously to counter, and
on the economy and all.
Russia is not the
No,
bigger
but
problem.
That's where my doubt is. Trump, even with the Ukraine war negotiations, there also many observers are saying Trump is actually more on the side of Russia. He's also pulled up Zelensky publicly time and again, not once, multiple times. He said, "Now I'm losing my patience with Zelensky."
For that, I have one question. Has Trump stopped giving military aid to Ukraine? No, he hasn't. So, yes, on the face...
To put secondary sanctions on Russian oil.
Yes, absolutely. On the face, you might come as someone, you wants world peace, And yes, if you're talking about Russia-Ukraine war, you have to possibly convince Russia to stop the war before you convince Ukraine, right? In this case, when you talk about Trump wanting to counter Russia-China, he's clearly said NATO is not going to do it for me, okay? Quad isn't that upfront as a military alliance, okay?
It's not.
But when you look at the larger game, when it comes to economy, everything, yes, you'll probably need a Japan, you'll probably need Australia, and you'll definitely need India if you want to counter China.
And that's why we've been seeing these joint military drills, military exercises. It leads to vessels also coming in these waters for them, which is also important, to have their presence in this region. And Rubio said another very important thing, where he said that, India is at the cornerstone of our policy vis-a-vis Indo-Pacific. So that also said a lot. And also, hopefully there will be some more. So Rubio's already had his meetings on the sidelines with Jaishankar and with Prime Minister Modi. We also expect Australia and Japanese foreign ministers to do the same as well. So all of that, yes, expected as well on this Quad Foreign Ministers Day on the 26th of May.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon. Yes, 26th of May.
And, talking about India now, let's take the India question also. Marco Rubio's just met. He's in India. He's met with Jaishankar. Those trade talks have happened, and we're looking at a trade deal. Both have, emphasized, emphatically spoken about how it's a strategic partnership now, and how strategic partnership, a special strategic partnership, is different from any other partnership in that these are the biggest democracies of the world that are faced with some common challenges, including terrorism, and how they can strategize to take on these global issues. So that meeting between US and India have happened. US has also met with Japanese Prime Minister Sanai Takaichi had visited Trump, so that meeting has also happened, and those optics were also, pretty good. Takaichi was, very close and with Trump, that meeting looked like it achieved what it was, wanting to. That has happened. Where is Australia in all of this? Is it now a junior partner in the Quad?
No, it's not a junior partner in the Quad because you have don't forget that when initially you're talking about countering China, Australia's always been a has taken a firm stand there. You know, you will in fact see that many of the European countries haven't done it. But Australia's always taken a firm stand when it comes to China. So that's what the US needs in this case, right? And that's why the Quad partners came together because somewhere they felt that, they agree on something when it comes to China's expansionist measures and its, everything that it does on its borders as well, which makes Australia very crucial. Let's not forget that Indo-Pacific is where the future lies. It's not in the Arctic anymore.
Right. What does it have to offer, Australia?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, Australia has economic partnership to offer. Australia has military partnership to offer. Australia has been very, very close to the US, and there was the AUKUS as well. Let's not forget. Also with UK, and again because it's a democracy, so it comes in that democratic partnership as well that the US prides itself on. And India-Australia ties are also great. So I think all the partners in this, Japan-Australia ties are great as well. So all the partners in this are very, very important with each other. I think everyone's equal. And now let's come back to India because we have to quickly talk about what's also happening on the 26th. On the 26th, yes, quickly.
Yeah, before we move on, let's also give the viewers a sense of what we should expect from the meeting tomorrow of the Quad. What are going to be the big talking points? What's going to be on the agenda? There's, of course, trade.
No, you'll probably see a very generic statement coming on economic partnership, on strategic partnerships. Just
hope for the hostilities to
hope for hostilities to cease.
think terrorism again is going to
Terrorism might feature in it. You're going to be talking about a free Indo-Pacific is going to be so much of it is going to be China is going to be viewing it very closely, but much of it is going to be number one to set the base for the larger meeting of the leaders. And mostly, it's going to be sort of reminding the world that, the Quad is still existing, and it is, yes, it is not a natural alliance, but, it's also not an opportunistic alliance, it's here to stay.
Yes.
I will actually be watching out for China's reaction. I think that's the important news point that we might want to pick up tomorrow. So, all right, yes, on to the...
Yes, very quickly because we're almost out of time, but we're also expecting Siddaramaiah, I think, to come to Delhi as well. We have to see because 2.5 years was what the Congress has promised in Karnataka. They didn't follow it through in Chhattisgarh, where Mr. T.S. Singhdeo kept waiting and Mr. Bhupesh Baghel did not give him the CM-ship. Even in Rajasthan, it was Ashok Gehlot all 5 years. So what's going to happen in Karnataka?
I mean, with the Congress, you probably now know what's going to happen. I don't think they're going to be making that change. Probably they would be doing the cabinet reshuffle where you'll see more DKS ministers in the cabinet before, the big election happens. But I mean, they lost power in Rajasthan. They lost power in Chhattisgarh as well. So ideally, you would expect a DK Shivkumar to now take over. Siddaramaiah has been there for a very long time. But yes, I don't think that's as easy for Rahul, and I don't think they're going to be making that change as well.
But is it happening? Because, of course, he has been called. Siddaramaiah says he doesn't know what the agenda of the meeting tomorrow is when KC Gopal has summoned him to Delhi. We don't know if DK Shivakumar has also been called as of now. But what we do know is that there is a change in portfolios. Right, Siddaramaiah has retained some of the top departments, including home, but some have also finance has been a shift. If finance has been taken away from from Siddaramaiah. Now that 2.5-year-old year CM formula that was supposed to be implemented, how realistic was that? Is that happening now? What is it? What is it that Shivakumar? And why has he been ineffective in wanting to bring what he wanted to? Uday?
I mean, because at the end of the day, the Congress High Command has dithered. They have tried to delay the decision. There have been pressure tactics. There was, statements which were coming out from DK Shivkumar's supporters in public. They were asked to be reined in and, be quiet. So at the end of the day, we'll have to see whether if there is no CM deputy CM change, I think there will definitely be portfolios change with DK Shivkumar balanced and his supporters also pleased. But will that be enough for them? Or will there be Operation Lotus in Karnataka? We have to wait.
Yeah, that is important because it is very likely. DK Shivakumar also has huge both money and muscle power, a lot of following. So if his followers decide to rebel, Operation Lotus is likely. BJP, of course, will be looking out for that opportunity. But anyway, that is still reflective of how Congress is, carrying, sailing its ship. So we'll wrap up this discussion. Thank you, viewers, for watching. Stay tuned.